Hello everyone and welcome back to our My Team career mode, where this time we are in the USA. Now last time out in Japan we managed to get double points for the team, so we will be looking to try and carry on the good form. It looks like in qualifying it's going to be nice and dry, but in the race it is going to be raining right at the end. That's going to make strategy choices pretty interesting. Because do we stick it out on hards and then just hope the rain comes? Anyway, you can see on the performance chart, we are closing in on Red Bull. We are really close now. I think if we can make sure we protect all of our upgrades for when the regulation changes come in, then we might actually be set to be potentially near the top of the field. We saved up a lot of resource points, so I am confident we will be able to protect all of our upgrades. In terms of upgrades for this race, we have protected quite a few of the durability upgrades, so we won't have an issue with that. And we have also brought in a chassis upgrade. I can't remember whether it was minor or major, but we have got a chassis upgrade, so we should be a little bit faster than we were in the last race. Now, USA was not my favourite track in F1 2021, to be fair. It never really has been my favourite track overall. But so far, in terms of this qualifying lap, it does seem like we're relatively quick. And look at the sun. Honestly, I was driving down this bit of back straight here, and you cannot see a thing. It is just, like, blinding. You can barely spot your braking point at the end here. It does kind of help that I have the racing line on. If you didn't have the racing line on there, I'm not sure how you're supposed to be able to see your braking point there. But we come to the second to last corner here. You have to be very careful on that sausage curb on the inside. You do not want to hit that. Otherwise, that's probably your race over with underfloor damage. But we crossed the line with a 134.4, which puts us in P5. But not everyone had done their laps, so afterwards we are actually down in P14. Our teammate is pretty much a second quicker than us. Now earlier on I thought we were on for a good lap, but maybe not. Anyway, on to the second lap here. This is a short qualifying, so this is the only session. But on to the second lap. We are about 6.5 tenths up already by the time we get onto the back straight. It looks like the sun has settled down somewhat now. It's not so blinding coming to your braking point. But we are now almost a second up, which is pretty much the time we needed to get. You can see we are sort of all over the place though. That did lose us a little bit of time. This particular corner here that we just did is actually really fun because you go flat out. You're steering pretty hard to the right and you are just going flat out. You are just hoping that the tyres don't overheat and, well, put you into a spin. But we crossed the line, over a second up, a 133.5, which means that we're about a tenth slower than Button, but it does put us P7. And I was about to come back into the pits. To be honest, I don't think we would have had enough time to do another run with 2.5 minutes to go. But it started raining, so nobody else did another qualifying lap. So we will be starting this race in P5 and P7.
Welcome once again then to the United States Grand Prix here in the magnificent city of Austin. It was here in 2018 that Kimi Räikkönen delighted the world by taking the top step of the podium for the first time in 114 races. There's always a record to be broken, so what, I wonder, is in store for us today? It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. An immense lap from Carlos Sainz yesterday puts him in pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Paul, Button, they've taken a grid penalty. Charles Leclerc and Fernando Alonso. Mick Schumacher, Russell, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Ocon and Pierre Gasly. Perez, they've taken a grid penalty. Stroll, Max Verstappen and Norris. Ricciardo, Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel and Guan Yu Zhou. Tsunoda, Magnussen, Latifi, and Alex Albon picks up the last spot on the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
Well, that is probably the most mixed up grid order I've ever seen. We start P3 with our teammate starting P4 because obviously he must have taken some sort of engine penalty, which means that he is now behind us. But Sainz up ahead on the softs is an interesting strategy choice, considering we are definitely going to be having some rain. But we'll have to see whether, you know, he can make that work. Now we await the lights to go out anytime now, and it's lights out and away we go. Button is already, well, he's pretty much already past us. He must have got a much better start than we did. You've got Alonso trying to send it down the inside on us at the same time, but there just isn't enough room there for him to get through. So yeah, we retain our 4th position. Here we're thinking we might just go for a massive lunge, and we do kind of, but we weren't committed enough, so we had to drive over that sausage curb. Thankfully, it did not send us into a spin or give us any form of underfloor damage, because especially in the position we are now, we do not want to do anything to ruin our race as we go very deep, and I'm not sure we might have even locked up there. Onto the back straight, we have the overtake button, but obviously it is only lap 1, so we do not have any DRS to be able to try and get past Button or Bottas. We're probably going to give Button a little bit of time to try and get himself past the Alfa Romeo driver, but if he is not able to do so, then we will have to, well, attempt to overtake Button. You have seen previously, we are not scared to go for big old lunges on our teammate. You would have seen we've done it a couple of times in Japan, if you watched that episode last time out. And onto the back straight here on lap 4. Button is very close to Bottas. Can he make a move? Bottas locks up, but unfortunately Button was unable to capitalise from it, and he is still behind him. Right, at this point I'm thinking, come on Button, I'll give you maybe one more chance to try and get past Bottas. I mean, he's got nobody ahead of him. Sainz has pulled out a massive gap in P1 there. Now we're on to lap 7 here. Interesting interpretation of track limits there from ourselves, but we get the news that Sebastian Vettel is out of the session. Seems like he's near the main straight, if you are able to see the map at the bottom left. Doesn't look like we're going to have any form of safety car, so I think we are going to be fine. But yeah, we're moving on to the back straight here. Button has still not got himself past Bottas, so we are thinking, you know what, we might try and go for it. We are just about close enough. We do go for a massive lunge there. Button actually locks up, which is good for us because I'm not sure if he would have backed out, to be honest. That was a pretty opportunistic move. We definitely weren't alongside him going into the braking point, but we did it. Sainz has pit at the end of lap 7 there, going on to lap 8, which means that currently we are P2 and Button is P3. Currently we have a double podium. That would be very good for us. I realised that I have just completely forgotten to mention the fact that we are running a special livery. If that's why you're wondering why we don't have the normal green and blue car, it's because we are running a special livery. If you saw the outboard views, it's kind of... I tried to make it look as much like a US flag as I could with the red, white and blue there. As we see, ourselves have now overtaken Bottas as well. So we are currently leading this race. And if we are only to do a one-stop and Sainz is, you know, he's definitely going to have to come in again, we might even be able to win this race. However, one thing we do have to bear in mind is Charles Leclerc is currently in P4, and he's only really 2.5 seconds behind us. So if we are going to win this race, we are going to have to defend like mad, and once again, we would probably be denying Ferrari a race win. I mean, we did it in Monza, so I suppose there's no reason we can't do it again. But lap 13 is now time for us to come into the pits. We are currently on the mediums. We should be swapping them for the hards if we are going to be doing the one stop. Yep, there we go. Into the pits. Can we get a good time? No issues there. Perfect. 2.4 second stop. Onto the hard tyres. And hopefully this should get us to the end of the race. Really, it depends on the rain. It depends on when it comes. It does say it's going to be at the end, but if it's in like, I don't know, 5 laps time, then everyone's going to have to come in. And Sainz's two-stop strategy might actually work out. But if it is right at the end and nobody comes in, then you never know. We'll just have to see what we can do with it. But we've come out of the pits. in P4. So you've got Carlos Sainz is still ahead of us, obviously, 6 seconds ahead. Perez in P2, he has yet to pit, and in P1 is actually currently our teammate, but once again, he has yet to pit. On to lap 15, they have now all pit, so we regain our second position. We've actually built a relatively decent gap. You've got Bottas behind us now, but he's miles down the road, 3 seconds down the road. But on to lap 15, I think this is Charles Leclerc trying to get past Bottas. He's going down the outside into the end of the back straight. They actually do make a little bit of contact there, as we see Leclerc's end plate is actually a little bit broken. He ends up having to go a bit deep there. They are still going side by side. Bottas is not giving this up in what effectively is the sister Ferrari car in the Alfa Romeo. But Leclerc will have the inside line here. And then the outside line, who is going to be ahead by the time they go onto the main straight, as Charles Leclerc moves over to the sides and goes into the pits. He's gone into the pits. I'm guessing he must have got damage with his battle with Bottas, but that is crucial for us, because if Sainz does have to do a two-stop, as we see our teammate trying to get past Bottas here, looks like he's just about been able to do it. But yeah, if Sainz does do a two-stop, then we don't really have anyone that could take the race win from us. Here we go, Sainz is coming in. So we are going to retake P1, basically, and assuming there is no rain, or it's not too early, we are actually looking good. We're in P1, Button is in P2, and the nearest rivals are Bottas, Russell and Perez, but they are 10 seconds down the road, and we only have 8 laps left. We could actually be on for our team's first 1-2. That is actually mad. I mean, I know they say when you put on a special livery, it can either be a curse or a blessing, and in recent years has definitely been a curse, but for us it seems to be alright. On to lap 25, and the rain. The rain is starting to come down. Now, we've only got 3 laps left. Do we come in? It really depends. It's okay for now, but I do feel like, you know, it is coming down heavy enough that in a lap or two's time, this track is just going to be way too slippery. Way too slippery for hard tyres. But we have to see. It depends on the AI, the rest of the competitors, if they decide to come in. As on to lap 27, you can see we are already struggling here, having to go a lot slower than we previously have done. The track is starting to feel a little bit like ice, but we've only got a lap left, and we are still in P1 and 2. Russell doesn't seem to be able to make any inroads on our teammate. He's still about 5 seconds behind. I doubt he's going to be able to do it all in the final lap here. And speaking of the final lap, we crossed the line to start the final lap. Still P1 and 2. This is actually crazy. We actually genuinely might be on for a 1-2, although massive lockups like those are not going to help. And you can see we just cannot put the power down. I mean, you can see the track. It's basically an ice rink. On these slick tyres, it is an ice rink. There is absolutely nothing we can do. We are going so slow here. Button has already gained a second on us. We might be in for a 1-2, but we might be in for a last lap battle between ourselves and Button as to who actually takes this race win. Now we are nearing the end of the final lap, and it feels like an absolute age. I mean, look how deep we've got here. We've practically gone off the track. Button is still about 3 seconds behind us, so I think we are going to be all right. Russell once again is not making any inroads, but I mean, this has got to be the slowest lap of USA that you have probably ever seen. This is genuinely crazy. This corner here that used to be in qualifying and some parts of the race flat out, most definitely is not flat out now. Avoiding the sausage curb, as you have to do, as we go to the final corner here, and I think we've had it. We are going to be all right. Go down the main straight, and we cross the line. Us in P1, and you see just behind us, Button P2. Wow. not the most exciting race in terms of overtakes, but our first 1-2, and there is the car in all its glory, somehow dry. Seems like the weather went away immediately before the podium celebration.
After the excitement of the race, but I'm sure it's nothing compared to our drivers here. They've worked hard to make it up there, and it's great to see them make their way out onto the podium.
Well, there you have it. That was the US Grand Prix. I thought I'd show a bit more of the podium celebration than I usually do, given the fact that we had both of us on there, including ourselves on the top step. But honestly, in that last lap, I was fighting for my life trying to bring that car home. It was so slippery. That has got to be the wettest I've ever driven slick tyres on a racetrack in F1, pretty much. But yeah, I mean, you can't really ask for much more. We didn't get the fastest lap, so we didn't get an absolutely perfect weekend. But nonetheless, I am more than pleased with a 1-2 for our team. In terms of driver standings, well, we've had a pretty big boost, as you would imagine. We are now in P5. We are ahead of both of the Red Bull drivers. I mean, technically we're on par points with Perez there, and as our teammate moves up as well. And yeah, I mean, I showed the constructor standings, but at this point we all know that we are going to at least get 4th in the constructors. We might even be able to get 5th if we can get past the Red Bulls, but I doubt it. But other than that, thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, all that fantastic stuff, and I'll see you next time out in Mexico.